Good day and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI Tournament. Today we'll be broadcasting the winners finals between Microwave and Killabot. But before that there is still some dirty work to be done in the losers bracket. We've got losers round 4 with Steamhammer and McGraves. McGraves really been tearing it up in the loser bracket, and the same can be said for Iron. They dropped out at about the same time. McGraves to Cherry Pie and well, Ironbot, what can we say? To Microwave, that was quite a surprise. So let's not get too hasty and let's get into the first game of Cherry Pie versus Ironbot. Now, first of all, I'd like to say that Ironbot has been written by Igor Dimitrievich from France, and I've got some rectification to do on behalf of Cherry Pie, because I always keep mentioning the 3 leads of the project, but apparently there's an entire team working on it with and it is really showing, as you perhaps have been aware for some time. The ladder is re-enabled, people can upload their bots again and vote for them. So if you visit the website, oh, and let me enable the overlay, otherwise you're going to see how long this game is going to last approximately. But that means that Cherry Pie is in there as well, and I think the learning algorithms are really coming into their own. Of course, at the time this game was played, it wasn't like that at all. Cherry Pie was pretty green, and Ironbot was the domineering force. It has been for a long time. And we see a nice wall-off going on, and then immediately after going for a very quick factory and some scouting, while Cherry Pie is going for its standard fast expansion into a spawning pool, into a handful of Zerglings, and at this point you are going to have some Zerglings at the gates. And we've got about 4. Oh, and the first Marine gets caught with its pants down. Speed is done, so I wouldn't count on it living very long, but it does take the Lings away on a wild goose chase a bit, and that gives the factory a bit of a chance to put out a Vulture. But even with the Vulture, with the Lings with speed, it's very hard to correctly out-micro them. Good morning. Oh, and another Marine gets caught. And that is going to be a little bit of a problem, because Iron can't really get out at this point. In superior numbers, the Vultures are going to wreak havoc with the Zerglings, and now you can see they are out microing them like a champ. If I do sound a little bit sick, that's because I am. I got the common cold and I don't like it one bit. The last thing to suffer was my voice, and Cherry Pie is all over this, with Lings coming from every angle. With only 9 workers and 18 for Ironbot, and the Vultures have things well under control-ish. They've got a lot of hit points and they are being repaired, so for the time being it looks like everything is going according to plan, and Speed will momentarily finish as... oh, Speed is already finished, and Mines will be there as well. And then it will be a hard uphill battle for Cherry Pie, because with Lings only it is a little bit of a hard lot to fight all these Vultures. As you can see, there is no sunken here or anything, it's no other tech, it's just going to be 2 hatches, and by now there are about 5 Vultures on the way, more are roaming the map, and Iron looks to be about to take another base. 2 factories humming away at it, and the mines will be done momentarily as well. So this is what it looked like. All new Lings, they can't even get a small hit in, or perhaps just 1, but these 5 Vultures are on a mission, and you will then see this bank of Cherry Pie deplete pretty quickly, and the occasional Zergling coming to the rescue won't get anything done at all. So there you go, last drone gets killed, and that was pretty much the game. Ironbot's got the expansion, and 2 factories, even got a starboard, and yeah, well, your main base looks like this. These Vultures are going to take quite a while to damage these buildings in order to kill them, because that's... oh, and bringing a tank is always a good idea, because the DPS of these Vultures versus buildings is just abysmal. And I'm going to let this game play out, because there is always a small chance they would crash, and we can't have that. So game number 2, and Cherry Pie, what will it learn from the first game? Will it try to go for a Zergling timing? I think the rush distance is a little bit smaller. on this map called Jade. But Ironbot will again have an unfortunate location for his wall. The Marines will pop out on the outside, which may be quite dangerous if there is going to be any kind of link pressure. Cherry Pie going for the expansion first. That's, well, it's sort of a staple of its build. And Ironbot's going for a lot of workers, a lot of gas. And the wall is down with one Marine behind it. And the drone is going to find it. And we're going to see the first Zergling soon. This time it's going to be different because that's going to be another hatchery and that's going to be a sunken. So this time Cherry Pie, and I must really commend it for that, is not going to play an all-in Zergling style, but may be very wise. And it's only the question, does it know that Iron can do a pretty sweet run by? And as you can see, the Zergling speed is not being made at all. And now it's one Vulture, one SCV, so the Lynx can't really get out. No natural yet, second Vulture coming out. And now the game, well, the momentum of the game is in Iron's hands. Let's see, it's going to start speed, it's going to start Spider Mine simultaneously, and here the Vultures run by. Two of them make it into the main, but they are not being microed at all. That's, oh, uncharacteristic. And they die to the Zerglings. That's really, that was a shame. One Vulture got stuck here, some damage was dealt by this sunken colony. Oh, and the barracks has left, and now the base is wide open, and it's only to be hoped that the army production of Iron is already up to scratch, and these Vultures are getting into dangerous water, now being repaired, and I think with both of them have got speed, it's going to be the Hydras which are going to be a little bit of bane for these Vultures. And the mine! Ooh, and that Hydra is very lucky, but versus 3 Vultures it can't really get anything done. And that's the end of the first Hydra, so if you let Iron gather steam, these Vultures will kill all the Lings and can even do pretty well versus small numbers of Hydras, especially if a mine would hit, make a nice connection. Bunker in, and some Marines coming over. Ironbot doing a lot of one base, going for another depot, really committed to this push. But you can see that this Zerg effort is really struggling to get any kind of map presence going. And that's mainly because these Vultures are being repaired so nicely, and there are even 4 SCVs. Oh, and the Hydra dies, and if these Vultures get repaired as well... Ooh, there you go. But versus 2 Hydras, the Vultures are going to suffer a little bit of damage, and they should be repaired a little bit more accurately. But worker-wise, it's dead even, and although Cherry Pie's got another base, I really would like to see where its next conclusive step is going to come from, because with that siege mode done, and that's going to be a huge problem for Cherry Pie, as these Hydras have basically become worthless. You can see they wading in, and with the mines, oh dear, the Vultures almost forgot to cover the mine. But with the tanks and the Vultures, I think that Iron's got things well under control. This tank could do with a little bit of repair, because it would be rather costly if it were to die out here. And you can see the repair of these SCVs isn't really as on point as it should have been, as you might expect from Iron. And these Zergling Hydra incursions really do a lot of damage, but the second tank is there as well. So now Iron really needs either a good mine hit, oh, that was close, or a good fight. Oh, and that was very unfortunate, and that was unfortunate again. Only Lynx dying to the mines. But by now, this tank is going to live, and this other tank is going to live as well. So with 2 siege tanks and more coming up, third base being started by Cherry Pie. That was small oversight on Iron's part. We've got Muta now, but we've also got the first Goliath, and this match is really interesting. There is a lot of adaptive play going on, and I always like to see that. Big problem is though that the Vulture numbers have been severely depleted, and there is only one badly damaged... oh, there is another Goliath. That's good. So for the time being, both players trading blows, and Iron really ought to find a way to get any kind of position with these tanks, and a natural that would really help it out a lot. And Cherry Pie is very lucky to have snuck this third out, But now Iron is ranging the Sunken, and you can look at the army supply. It's 24 versus only about 10. There is a handful of Zerglings, but now the natural is wide open to Iron. And Iron is... oh, let's not drop it to half speed. And this is a very nicely timed push. Might have done with another Sunken, but these Zerglings can really do a lot of damage. And Iron just veered back and is going for... oh, there is no turret, and the anti-air is all in this one Goliath here. Iron is just going to resume its boa constrictorish contain, and meanwhile placing a turret and a natural and another turret in the main. Another one over here. So Iron looks to be pretty okay. This is the third of Cherry Pie though. Let's see what he can do with that. Army-wise, ooh, Iron's losing a lot. These Lings are really on the bounce. And the Vultures are running harder than a tank, so if you lose a tank to Lings like that, the rest of the army is going to be killed off as well. And where Iron had a big army advantage earlier, it's now lost the contain, lost map control, and Cherry Pie is, well, a little bit down in army, but it's just getting more purchase out of the army it's got. And finally the Vulture is going to get repaired. Oh, and the Goliath is going to die. That's very unfortunate. But Iron now's got the natural up with a fair number of turrets. And how many factories has it got? It's got 3. So army production-wise... oh, and even a barracks. Army production-wise, it should be okay. It lost the contain, but got the natural up. And I think that's a nice... that's a really nice trade-off. And now this Muta is trying to kill stuff. The third has been... saturated with drones. More mutas are going to be built. Let's look at the upgrades just briefly. We've got Ling speed, Hydra speed, +1 being started, and Iron's got all the usual mech upgrades. Production wise, it's all about a fat round of drones. Cherry Pie somehow feels it's got map control, not rebuilding the spore colony, just building drones. And let's see what it can do with the map control it just acquired. This one muta is still chasing a Vulture. That is always a good idea. This other Muta is not getting anything done. And there is a small pack of Mutas. Oh, that Vulture is going to die if it isn't very, very careful. Still faster than the Mutas though. And these Marines are a little bit far out. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But just make it. And with the turrets and the bunker, Iron is pretty safe. But the question is, what kind of composition is it trying to build to beat back Iron? And you can see that's a lot of Vultures. And at this point, where there are so many mutas, I don't really know that Vultures are going to do it a world of good. Cherry Pie is going off the wall. Lots of hatcheries. We saw that fat round of drones earlier, and even now it's still producing drones. It's already got 67 drones of only 3 bases, and the waiting is for more bases to be built. And you can see these mutas are keeping close tabs on things. Iron trying to make it work with mutas in the middle of the map, but the Lings are all over it. And if I look at this micro, the Hydras are so careful. The minesweeping is only being done by the Zerglings, and I think with 3 versus 2 bases, that's a net gain. And here comes the 4th base. And if that 4th base gets operational before Iron can get any kind of a large army together, it's going to be a hard fight for it. Going for Wraiths with Cloak, I think that's a nice gimmick, but versus a Cherry Pie with double the army supply, ooh, that was a nice mine hit. Things like that really help for Iron. Cherry Pie is on the march. You can see these Hydras waiting, sending in 1 Ling at a time, and with some mutas overhead. This map control thing with only Vultures is clearly not going to work. If you look at the army supplies, we've got 9 mutas, a handful of Zerglings, a couple of Hydras, and army-wise there isn't that much for Iron anyway. So Cherry Pie is still sitting on double the amount of army, and also, no, not really double the amount of workers. It's about 40% more. Iron on 2 bases, well defended with all the turrets, and turrets in the main base. We've got Valkyrie. The Valkyries can do a lot of damage, but they really need to fight 1 dies, and the Vulture and the... oh, they are not fighting together as well as they could. But that might be really costly, because Cherry Pie isn't really known for its high-tech units, and Ironbot could really do with a couple of tanks here. But what can you do? You've got to make choices. And while it was 30 versus 15 army supply earlier, Iron's still stuck on Fort 17. but it's really careless with its units, and this bunker is not filled, so every firepower is just behind this wall, be it Valkyries, be it turrets, or be it vultures to kill the ground army. And Cherry Pie is exploding on the map, placing extra hatcheries, building base, taking bases, and every expansion is looking like it's going to explode. It's got the hive, it's got 70 workers, it's overrunning the natural. So that is going to be the 1-1. Wow. That's pretty good. Where the Vultures did it for iron in the first game, they were not enough in the second game due to a beautiful build order switch by Cherry Pie, bringing the game back to 1-1. Of course, this is a best of 5, so either player will need 2 more games to win 2 more games to move on into the next round. And once you let Cherry Pie off the hook, my god, what it does. It's really a ravenous Zerg, and wow. That's really something. Okay, so the score's 1-1. I don't have a fancy overlay, so I'll keep repeating myself for a, well, every once in a while. So 1-1 the game, and Iron, what's it going to do? It's going for its wall again, and again unlucky spawning on the right side. That means that the Marines will spawn on the outside of the wall. Nabbing the scouting drone, that's good. Very fast factory. And here we go, we see the natural with the sunken, same build as last game, where the first build with a dedicated 9 pool with an extra hatchery and lots of links didn't succeed versus Iron. It's now a little bit more eco-heavy, and you can see that the links have just arrived. They are probably going to have some fun with this SCV, but otherwise they won't get too much pleasure out of their early arrival. The factory is humming away, we've got the first 2 vultures, and Iron should really perhaps take a little bit quicker expansion, because that was really hampering it last game, and on only 2 base Cherry Pie just ran away with it. And Cherry Pie, will it go the same path it did last game with the Hydras and the Zerglings, and will Iron be successful with this 1 base push it's aiming to do? Judging by this Vulture and the absence of any Zerglings out on the map, oh, we've got 1 badly damaged one here. Army supply for Cherry Pie is only 5. Speed for Zerglings is done, and for Vultures will be done momentarily, so that will be good. And Cherry Pie on this Andromeda has got an extra advantage of having an in-base natural, and that's really cute because you can defend it with this sunken run by. Might be a problem, but that will mean extra larvae, extra drones, and extra mineral income. And with the tendency of Cherry Pie to build lots of Zerglings, that's very good. And Iron going for the quicker expansion, like I have mentioned earlier, that it should perhaps take that. These 2 vultures escorting a Hydra to its death. And are they going to go for a run by? No, they are not. Instead, they're just going to take down a drone and a couple of Zerglings. That's very useful, because Cherry Pie, you can't really let it run away, and it's a little bit loose with all its drones, and I think that it's not all about their virtue, but more about their overall health. And this one's going to die as well, so no quick 4th base for the time being. And as there are only 2 vultures with the tank now, that's really good. Cherry Pie has huge issues getting any kind of an army together. And that's maybe in fact because it's building so many drones, as you can see. Oh, now it's doing a full round of combat units. The tank is badly damaged, and the question is, where is the SCV coming to come from? The SCV has been being intercepted by this Hydra. Now the Hydra is dead, and you can see how critical, how finely balanced these 2 players are. A small advantage might snowball into a bigger one. And now the tank is being repaired, 3 Marines are being sent over, and that's a lot of pressure for Cherry Pie. Still on only 4 army supply. It's building a lot, but it's trying to send out units 1 at a time, losing the occasional worker, and ooh, that was really close for the Hydra. But now Cherry Pie with 9 army supply is trying to get things done. We've got the siege tank with siege mode. Bring the suppressing fire to the battlefield, and 1 SCV, 4 repairs. That's very good. Iron, no, that's not an expansion. This is going to take the in-base expansion as well. No, Cherry Pie's got a lot of minerals. Unfortunately, it can't really build a lot with that, and it's going for a Muta switch, which is good, and as there is only a couple of Marines, and the couple of Marines is devolving into 0 Marines, and now the Muta has having free range, and Iron appears to be on the back foot. Of course, the Natural's up and running, but the same really applies for Iron as it did for Cherry Pie. It's not really a big fan of fighting with large armies. It's all about the harass and not really trading blow for blow. And Cherry Pie, with that in-base natural, it's really astounding how many drones it can eke out, and it's not really over-droning too much. It just did get away with the pressure Iron brought to it. And if Iron hasn't got a magical toad up its sleeve, it's going to be in pretty rough water soon. Is there any SUV out to make a third? It is. Yeah, now it's going for an in-base third. That might prolong it a little bit, but the problem is that Cherry Pie has already found a 4th base and is building hatcheries all over the place. And with the drone count it's got, and it's going to build, it's going to be only a matter of time before it will be all over things. Now Iron is sort of stacking up units. What's it making? Lots of infrastructure, Valkyries, and Cherry Pie. 1, 2, 3, 4 hatcheries at once, lots of drones, couple of Lings, couple of Overlords. Queen's Nest is really going balls to the wall, not experiencing any pressure, so taking its time, setting up shop. A little bit ahead in the worker count, not too drastic though. Killing a worker here and there, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, Iron, what are you going to do? Because last game you let Cherry Pie get this far into the game. It didn't really turn out as well as you hoped. It did turn out pretty well for Cherry Pie in the end. But there you go. Oh wow, that's just the base taken, and for added larvae production, just build another hatchery before the first one's done. That's pretty ballsy. And how many hatches have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hatches, 4 bases. That's pretty good. And army supply wise, Cherry Pie is almost doubling TSMU. The army value is pretty low, but it's very mobile, and if you've got the edge on the enemy in map dominance, it will only be a matter of time before it can be translated to a big army advantage. Now Ironbot with 3 bases running, and I think that there is a lot of juice left in the main, could do pretty well, but it really need to get an effective army, keep it together and do damage. And with this large, very responsive army of Cherry Pies, the APM is about 22,000, that's quite a lot. It's not really easy for Iron to venture out on the map a lot. But now Iron's doing pretty well with the Wraiths and the Valkyries and the turrets, so these Mutas can't get too uppity. And that's a nice volley by the Valkyries. The Wraith is in pursuit, of course being cloaked, these Mutas can't see it, they can't target it, so they decide to run. We've got Overlord speed by the looks of it. Yep, there we go, and now it's the Wraith's turn to run, but it realized it only a little bit too late, and now it's dead. So Iron, on the back of a small air victories, is trying to move out. But here are the Mutas again, and this Valkyrie... Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Luring all the Mutas in the turret field and then blasting a couple of missiles after them. That's a good idea always. While in the natural we've got three Goliaths they're called, but then there are so many Zergans and the natural's being busted. And that is not good. That's not another base being taken. But Cherry Pie, with just a very dedicated Zergan push, is capitalizing on, ooh, that wasn't ugly mine, on the fact that Iron really hasn't got that large of an army, and if it's spending a lot of money to build Valkyries to throw off the Mutas threat, the ground threat of course can be increased with impunity. So there we go, there goes the natural, and Cherry Pie being very meticulous in tearing it down completely before moving on to the next target. Oh well, it can do 2 things simultaneously, it looked like. And all of a sudden you've got 25 army supply, but where is it? That's always a good question. Must be all in production, I don't know. Whoa, and Cherry Pie pressing Z for victory. Meanwhile making a lot more hatcheries. StarCraft to be another one, that's really sick. And this one Valkyrie is having a bit of could have a bit of fun with the overlords. And Cherry Pie is really exploding with all the upgrades and with a lot of lings. So if you look at the army supply totals, we've got 105 lings out already, 7 hydras, and that might be the way to do it, because if you are going to spot a Terran on the back foot with a lot of Valkyries, its ground defenses must be a little bit weaker, and then you can just press Zergling. God, there are many of them. And with 118, 19, 20 Zerglings, that's enough to go on with, I would say. And you can see these vultures, of course, they've got the number on a couple of Zerglings, but once there are 124 coming up, that might be a little bit difficult to get done exactly. And these Valkyries are doing quite okay. The occasional Muta gets punished, but without repair, the Valkyries are not really all that interesting anymore. A new Muta's coming up, and the main base looks like this. Hello, what a lot of Zerglings have we got. And unless a miracle is happening right now, I think that Cherry Pie is going to make the 2-1. And that is the game, as they say. So Cherry Pie leading 2-1 versus Iron. In the first game, it didn't really succeed with a 9 hatch, 9 pool Zergling pressure. Then it went a little bit more eco-heavy with a Zergling Hydra defense until 3 bases were up. And then slowly but surely and methodically taking map control from Iron, wrestling it in the middle of the map, and later on overrunning it with large numbers of mostly everything. And last game it was a large number of Zerglings. We had about 120 out on the map. Now, Cherry Pie, what are you going to do? Because Iron this time has got a wall with the barracks where the Marines can spawn on the inside of the wall. That's good. And Cherry Pie going for the hatch first, then the pool, and that's going to be that. Now Iron with the nice gate mechanics and the very fast factory should be okay. And Cherry Pie immediately plopping down a sunken. That might be well placed versus run-bys actually, because that's a small straight. Oh, and killing the scouting SUV to boot. Always nice to have. And worker-wise, Cherry Pie is taking its time, placing another hatchery in its own base. And although the first Vulture is coming to have a look at the construction of the Zerg expansion, it can't really get too much done. Perhaps with the 3 of them they will try a run-by. Iron is known for that, but the Zerglings come off the line. Oh, and all the 3 Vultures have stopped dead in their tracks without doing any kind of damage. And that is a huge victory for Cherry Pie. That were the first 3 Vultures, and not only is that 6 army supply, it's also a little bit of the first map dominance. And of course, speed for both players not yet done. The Vultures will at this point have the upper hand versus the Zerglings, and their speed is done. So even with both units having speed, the Vultures would be in a much better position. And I would really like Iron to sit back a little bit and try to build up a contain like it used to do before. Mine hits going off all over the place, that is good. But I feel that you should take these Hydras a little bit more on the mines. Oh, that was a good one. And with the mines, these Vultures are doing respectable damage. So 4 Vultures versus very little in the way of Zerg army supply. Again, the fast expansion. So Iron looking to be in a good shape, so if it doesn't waste any units, like this badly damaged Vulture... Please be careful. And it is careful, but it's not getting anything done in the way of map control either. Oh, and it dies, but just before with its dying breath, it kisses a mine on the forehead of that Hydra. And the Hydra, oh, and Iron is getting a little bit more purchase out of its mines. Now that's good. A little bit luckier, and where Cherry Pie used to send in his lings first, Iron can sort of make this contain work, but it will need heavier units to stem the tide of the Hydras. Perhaps might plop down a bunker, because before there are lurkers, bunker with Marines in them do pretty well versus these Hydras. I don't really know though if that's a mechanic that Iron has to build bunkers for the contain. And meanwhile it's a bit of a blow balancing act with the Hydras versus the Vultures, and nothing much is coming to go out of it. Worker wise, Ironbot is in a good position. Cherry Pie can't really macro up too quickly because there are Vultures at its door. And if we look at the... oh, it's trying to squeeze in a lot of drones. and upgrade-wise, it's also trying to get things done with the Hydra speed. That would help a lot versus these Vultures, but the Vultures for the time being are really doing evil things with the Zerglings, and that's, well, it's good for the Terran. And at this point, I'd say give it to Iron, because I wouldn't really mind seeing a 5th game. Of course, Cherry Pie is 2 games up versus 1, and if Iron were to take this one, we'd see a 5th game, which would be incredibly exciting, not only for the tension of the last game, but also because the level of play of these 2 bots is very adaptive, it's very high. And you can see that Iron is maintaining the double army supply of the enemy, and with these Vultures with speed, they are doing pretty well. Ooh, and this time Cherry Pie getting a little bit lucky with the mine hits. And there is a Wraith, but what can a Wraith do? Not really all that much. Is Cloak starting? No, it isn't. And I think Cherry Pie just broke out of its box, because although Iron's got the double the army supply is muddling around here with the Marines and investing a lot of money in turrets. Perhaps it spotted the Spire. 1 muter in production, yeah, that's really great, but it's not really a dedicated game plan, and I think you are going to need that to beat Cherry Pie. At the moment, you can see with the Hydras and the Muters, the Vulture weapon is being taken out of the map eventually, and yeah, that was a lucky mine hit for Iron, and it really needed that. This Vulture, though, is going to be pretty careful. Oh dear, yeah, that's unfortunate. No foresight not to run into a cul-de-sac, and then it dies. Another good mine hit. So Iron, if it gets a couple of good mine hits off, it's the 3rd base started for Iron, while Cherry Pie is still on 2. Cherry Pie, of course, still macroing, but it's also feeling the pressure, and I don't know, no, that's the Queen's Nest, that's not another Sunken. Iron is doing okay. There is a Muter or 2 out on the map, but there are also Wraiths and there are turrets at all the bases. So for the time being, I think that Iron is in a position which it can't really wish for a much better one. And the question is, what kind of unit is it going to put out to deal with the growing threat and the growing mobility of Cherry Pie? The Vultures, as you can see, if they are not being properly supported by SCVs and Wraiths, and their mines, of course, are in a dire position. And they can micro with the speed, but there are Muters overhead, and it all gets a bit muddy. But in the end, these Vultures are going to take damage and die, and that's basically 3 kills for the Muters. And this Valkyrie could do pretty well, but it can't really make up its mind, and on its own, it can't do all that much. These Muters are really spot on, not losing a sliver of health to the turrets. But with the 2 cloaked Wraiths on their tail, they're going to suffer a little bit. And with the Valk in tow, that's going to be a little bit of a mess. Still, Cherry Pie not daring to venture out of its base, and that might eventually result in a big problem, because Iron's got 3 bases up. And you can see that although Iron hasn't really got a large army together, and Cherry Pie's got quite a versatile army with the Muters and the Hydras. Oh, this Wraith had better hightail it out of there, but I think it's going to die. The Valk's coming to its rescue, but the Muters are going for the Wraith first, and there could be a lot of turrets out on the map, because, well, Iron hasn't got that much money. Oh, here come the Goliaths, and Cherry Pie, where is it going to get a 3rd base from? Iron looking very good in this game, keeping the harass just on point enough to make do with the growing number of Zerg units on the map. Make no mistake, although Iron has got the army lead, these Zerglings can really, because they're better micro, can do quite a bit of damage to the mech units of Iron, and that will remain to be seen if with the repair Iron can keep its presence in the map up, or if it's going to be a bit of a bother to get that and keep that rolling. Now Cherry Pie's got 73 workers, only 2 bases, and the main is getting low. So with Iron having, well, the production is not that great, and it's losing a lot of money, all kinds of Wraiths, and is now producing tanks. So if it can get any kind of a mech army up, it's going to be in a great shape. Now repairing the 2 Valkyries with the Vultures and the Goliaths in the middle of the map is going to take a couple of Overlords. That's always a good idea. And you can see that this Hydra Zergling army's had a bit of its best. Oh, that mine could have blown everything out of proportions and into the next world. But you can see when this mech army is growing, and with a bit of raid support, it can do pretty well, especially with these Valkyries going to town on the Overlords. Cherry Pie might find itself supply blocked, and the Lings are pushing things back. That's great. But I think there is more coming, and this Goliath cluster is really holding its own. And now you see a similar mechanic to Zerg, where all these SCVs are involved. The mech units get repaired, and it's very hard to spot a badly damaged Terran unit. And that's also because Iron's army supply is growing steadily, and Iron now even taking a 4th base, while Cherry Pie is still stuck on 2. Oh, and the Air Force is all over the poor Overlords. That's not good. And Cherry Pie is pressing Overlords for victory. But in the meanwhile, the Air Force of Irons is having its way with that. And there are 2 tanks up. There are turrets being built near the choke. And Iron appears to have very good chances of equalizing, bringing this back 2-2. And that leaves just one match to decide who is going to go on into the losers round. Wow, look at Iron fighting. That is really a Gosu piece of Brute War AI right there. Natural still up and running, main's getting low, but the same is definitely happening in the Zerg main. And although there are a bit of Hydras now contesting the air force of Irons with the tanks outside the gates, I don't really see this going anywhere. And this drone line is so juicy. Look at the tank volleys, and the drone count is plummeting so hard. It was 70 earlier, and well, with about half the drones killed, that about makes it. And Iron has got a huge superiority. It's 64 versus 12 army supply. Drones are coming off the line or being transferred, I don't know. But that's like sticking your little toe into a meat grinder and press the play button. And look at all these turrets. Iron is really making sure now, even with the science vessel, it's going to play hide and seek with this muter. But with all the turrets there are, it has pretty good chances of hiding. And Cherry Pie, what can it do at this point? It doesn't appear to be to possess GG mechanics. And yeah, the army of Cherry Pies is back on the ramparts, trying to flee for its life, going to kill these 3 Goliaths. They are still pretty good fighters, but at the point where you've got 12 versus 56 army supply, even if Iron gets beaten back, if this push gets completely stymied, there will be so much coming after it. And Iron is starting its 5th base, got 4 mining, well, the main's still mining actually. And the tanks are rolling, so speeding it up just a tiny little notch. All the Overlords are being wasted, and 2 command centers, Goliaths, lots of turrets being built all over the place. Can we see that actually, how many there are? No, we can't. And Iron is taking its sweet time to demolish the Zerg base, this being the last hatchery. And that is the GG. We are going into the last game, the 5th game in this best of 5. The question is, who is going to go on in the losers bracket? Is it going to be Cherry Pie, or is it going to be Ironbot? And for a small reminder, the losers bracket looks something like this. The winner of this game will play in the losers semis, and the other one will play in the losers semis as well. Then the losers finals, which will have the loser of Microwave versus Killabot, and then we will be having the grand finals over here. Only 2 slots reserved over there. So, oh, sorry, that's the music playing. Let's go into the last match. And as I've got the overlay running, you can't see how long it's going to take. Cherry Pie, is it going to take another build order? It's going to, I think, not. No, there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, 3 hatches. It's going to do the build, which granted it 2 of its victories, but also saw a loss last game because Iron was just 2 on point, and Cherry Pie couldn't really get a 3rd. And this drone is really doing massive damage to the command center. Before one of the SCVs takes a little bit of time to put it out of its misery. Yep, there it goes. First blood goes to Iron. And Iron appears to be having the contain down with 2 vultures, 2 SCVs, and if I'm not very much mistaken, there are more vultures coming upgrade-wise. Link speed hasn't been started, vulture speed has, so Iron appears to have a slightly quicker build order, where the vultures get speed before the links do, and trying with another run by, but as there are links on the ramp and a sunken colony, This run-by is dead. And now Iron will have to fight off the Zerglings with this one Vulture. Is speed done? Yeah, speed is done. Zergling speed isn't. And now with 2 Vultures. So the contain will shortly be back into place, I think. Especially with 3 Vultures. And going for another run-by, and now 2 Vultures make it. But there is a Hydra as well. And they are going to go after the drones. How many will they get? They've got... oh, they've got 0. And I can but commend Cherry Pie for stopping all these run-bys. Ironbot being the first and only bot who does run-bys and then being snuffed so hard. Oh, and finding a 3rd. So Cherry Pie is really not going to be contained to 2 bases. Putting up another... what's this? Is that Spire? That's a weird place for a Spire. But Cherry Pie is going for a quick 3rd. Iron is putting down its natural. So 2 versus 3 base still could be anyone's game. Upgrade-wise, Zergling speed is done, Hydro speed being started, mines are done. And it's going to be a nail-bitingly close contention between these Vultures and the Hydras. But with the Overlords overhead, the mines don't really get into play, well, they get in and out of play immediately. But these Vultures versus the Hydras can't really get too much done. Perhaps with backup from a handful of Marines, they can do pretty well. And this SCV had better get in there and repair some Vultures, because eventually these Vultures are going to die to the Hydras. And it's a little bit of a standoff. And I think that this reluctance of the SCVs to repair the Vultures is going to cost Iron dearly. As Cherry Pie seems to have broken out, has established a 3rd, worker-wise is equal, and has not an army advantage, but these are Marines in the middle of the map, and they can only but die to these Zerglings with speed. And Iron starting siege mode, but will soon be sieging at his own natural, and that means Cherry Pie will have free access to the entire map. That's not well, as a Terran there could be more favourable scenarios. This tank though is sort of stuck, the SCVs are sort of stuck, they have some issue moving around this bunker. And although the Vultures are doing pretty well, the tank's now coming into play to doing nice bit of pompomery damage to this Hydra. And 1 full in its snout, that will teach it. Problem though is going to be this 3rd being operational for Cherry Pie. And Cherry Pie will gain map control. And oh dear, are there Goliaths yet? No, there aren't. These 2 Mutas will get a lot of damage done. There is a Goliath coming up, and some Marines too. I don't know if these Marines are the wisest choice, but I guess in a situation like that, where you're struggling for map control, any little bit of firepower would help. And Iron really ought to keep its units a little bit in a tight group, like you see Cherry Pie do, with a couple of them at the front, and then the other ones are patrolling back and forth, ready to pounce to do a little bit of damage. And no, that's mine. 4th base with a little bit of defense started for Cherry Pie, and as these army supplies are already diverging in the favor of Cherry Pie, Ironbot really needs to come up with a 3rd base. Going for the turrets first, I can't really. It could hold on here at the bridges for some time with the tanks and the Goliaths. Where are the Goliaths? There aren't any Goliaths. That's unfortunate. We've got range, I think, coming up. No, yeah, that's range coming up, and cloak. And this is those two-track approach. I don't really... You're going to need a large army and pretty soon, because if this 4th base comes off the ground before your 3rd is started, and this is not really a 3rd with only turrets there, you're going to be in it for good. And these Mutas are killing some SCVs, now are killing a tank, while this Goliath is being chased by the ground army. Oh, and there we go with the Valkyrie, but the Valkyrie is immediately being set upon. The bunker is being repopulated, and this... oh dear. Well, the Valk's being repaired, the SCVs are being repaired. The 3rd still not up for Iron, and it really should put it down, because the 4th for Cherry Pie is up. 3rd is saturated, the hive is done. And that means that, yep, there we go, Adrenal +1, and Cherry Pie is about to explode in a surge of units. It's already got 29 versus 21 army supply, and that only means... Oh, that was a nice mine hit. Iron could do with a little bit more of that. Perhaps some tanks on the high ground. The Valkyries are not really in a good position, getting a lot of damage, and the army control of Iron seems to be lacking. Once it gets a contain up, it's the most deadly force in the world. It's a destructive, suffocating iron glove that will get you by the throat. And ooh, no, it's not a new base. But on their own, these units are relatively... They are too solistic. They are trying to get too much done by themselves without any kind of a good backup plan. And what you see happen is that these units die on their own. We've got 2 Valkyries up with a Wraith. That's quite respectable, but we haven't got any kind of tank thing going on. And it's just a loose handful of Marines, couple of Vultures, couple of SCVs. Yeah, the air army is doing pretty well. The air army for Cherry Pie is completely obliterated. But the ground army of Iron consists of 2 Goliaths, 3 Vultures, 5 Marines and 1 Medic. Versus everything red that's streaming now in from all angles of the map. That's not an awful lot. The bunker is, of course, inhabited by a handful of Marines, and this hand gets obliterated. So while the Air Force is there, where is the air support? Yeah, well, it's the air support, but it's only going to fight enemy air forces. And now the Lings are in there. And if you look at the production tab, oh, that's always such an ugly sight if you are watching this from a Terran perspective. If you're watching this from a Zerg perspective, that's absolutely beautiful. 4 hatches, lots of Zerglings, drones, muters. Let's look at the Overlords. No, Cherry Pie's got a lot of room in the supply department. And this one turret is doing a lot of damage, but finally a Zergling found it, and a couple of more as well. So that was the natural. The third is somehow operational, but as you can see, there is quite a bit of interested Zergling fanboys coming at it, and with only a badly damaged Vulture to try and defend it. Oh, and it dies. So that's not good. Another base by Cherry Pie. And I think you could just place the normal hatchery here, but in its eagerness to win this game and seal the deal 3-2, it forgot to take the main hatchery and build 3 more instead. And you can see lots of Zerglings being made, 4 hatches still, Ultra Cavern, and Cherry Pie is let off the leash. So for anyone trying to fight, having to go to fight Cherry Pie, better not let it out of the bag, because it will just press Zergling, and then you'll be in a sorry state upgrade-wise, building everything it can get its claws on. That's Overlord side range for reasons I can't imagine, but if you got this much map control, it doesn't matter anyway. Oh, and here comes the natural hatchery, or the logical hatchery for this position. And 4th base up, all bases up, and that was, I think, the game. Wow. So Iron takes his leave, Cherry Pie moves on to the next loser round. And now we've got Steamhammer versus McGraves, and I can only say that I hope it's going to be just as good. Judging by the 2 players playing, it can hardly be otherwise. So McGraves, Protoss number 2, was in contest with Crazio before the tournament final started for the number 1 position. Beat Ironbot, was a solid number 2. Fell, I say, a bit unexpectedly early in the tournament. Let's see where it fell off. Here you go. Oh, to Cherry Pie, 3-2. That was very close as well. And earlier took out Alien 2-0. So there we go. Steamhammer taking a leave of Cherry Pie's book. First the expansion, then the pool, and then probably a handful of Zerglings. This scouting probe can't really make up its mind what it's going to do. Oh, it's going to play hide and seek with the Zerglings. Have we got any kind of link speed coming up? No, not yet. What's happening in the Protoss end of things? We've got 2 gateways, and if I'm not very much mistaken, that's going to be a core. And now we'll have a little bit of a tug of war between Zerglings and Zealots. We've got 10, 12 Zerglings versus a handful of Zealots. And Zergling speed is about halfway done. So that means that these Zealots will have to run for a little bit. And they can only hope that there will be goons or any kind of reinforcements popping up. I'm not going to peek at the unit production tab. Will the probes come off the line? Oh, there are 3 more Zealots here. And a goon. And that's very cowardly of these Zealots, because now Zerg's got map control. And more Lings are coming. Look at that. That's a really dedicated Zergling thing. And now the Lings are coming to go in from all angles, but with the suppressing fire of these 2 goons and the Zerglings helping to defend. For the time being, McGrave is holding and doing some damage to boot. Shouldn't lose too much mining time because its probe saturation is quite okay. And now it's got 20 versus 10 army supply. Although in unit count is... oh, now it's in favour of McGrave. Third being started for Steamhammer. And Steamhammer really is in need of units. What's it building? Sunken, couple of Zerglings, because the Protoss army is soon to be at its gates. The Ling speed is done, Goon range is done, there is a Sunken, there are 2 Sunkens actually, so these Lings should wait a little bit before committing to a fight. And the Goons are being sidetracked, are taking their time to kill an Overlord. And Steamhammer is sort of trapped until it gets its third up. Drone saturation is pretty horribly low, and Cherry Pie did that a lot better. The problem is that if you are not going to have the drones, your whole eco plan is going down the tube, and if you're under pressure you can't really build too much drones anyway, but really ought to build a handful, as McGrave's army is almost 4 times the strength of that of Steamhammer's. And Steamhammer with the 2 Sunkens doing pretty well, but the Link should come off and help fight off these Zealots before... oh, there goes the first Sunken. Now the Link's coming off the line, and the Zealots are just having their way with that. Even without +1, they are decimating the Zerg army. And Zerg, it was a nice try, but you're really going to have to, if you're going to play a third base, you're really going to need more drones. And right now it's 9 versus 21 drones. McGrave with the 1 base is trying to tackle a little bit. This might be a Templar Archives. Is beating down the natural hatchery and killing another drone. More reinforcements streaming in. The Goon squad is taking down all the Overlords, which means that Steamhammer can't really produce all that much. And now the Zealots are in the mineral line of the main. Is there anything happening at the third? Yeah, there is 1 drone over there. Oh, 2 more drones. That was quite sad. Question is, oh, we've got one pair of Zerglings, probably. Oh, 1 half Zergling, and now it's dead. And Steamhammer, what can you do with only this base? And McGrave will be scouting for it. Probably you can see its units moving all over the map, and it will only be a matter of time. Yep, there we go. The drone's dead, and here goes the hatchery. We've even got a High Templar. And McGrave makes the game into a 1-0 advantage. Next game up, what will Steamhammer do? And hopefully not exactly the same, because we saw a beautifully adaptive play. A best of 5, 3-2 for Cherry Pie over Ironbot. But these players were really going at it. And if I'm going to be as bold, I can see that's still 11 workers for Steamhammer. Still hatch first, then a spawning pool. Is McGrave going to do anything different? Does it? Well, yeah, it looks like it actually. Although it won last game on Icarus, it's going for something else. Oh, losing a drone like that's just sloppy. Going for a little bit quicker natural, looks like, with the cannon and a couple of Zealots for defense. 1 more cannon, that's good, I think. But now, oh, look at all these Zerglings pursuing only 1 probe. That's absolutely, in this day and age, I still can't wrap my head around why that's still a thing that this 1 scouting unit can. Oh, and there it goes. So now we've got a large Ling army, and the drone saturation is already 14. That's a little bit higher than it used to be the last game. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That's a lot of Zerglings lost for nothing. Nice SimCity by McGrave. 4 cannons operational, 1 more being built. Is it going to do any kind of cheesy tech? I don't know. Drone-wise, Steamhammer. At this point where you know you see all these cannons and lots of zealots, you should just drone your ass off and try to get your drone saturation up by a lot. And still it's only at 15, 16 workers. That's... where are these guys going? That's absolutely gobsmack. Oh, they're going for the gas. And McGraves is... yeah, what can it do? It's pretty slow. It hasn't taken a third. Just building a little bit of army, building its infrastructure. I do agree with that. But I think the war at this point is definitely at the feet of Steamhammer, where it should just have droned a little bit harder. Because this Protoss army is going to get released. And although you've got a lot of upgrades and a couple of Hydras, in the end you are going to need fighting units and drones. And already you can see this Protoss army doing away with large numbers of Zerglings. A stray Overlord getting killed, this other one is going to fly in the path of the goons. That's not good at all because Steamhammer's already supply blocked. And yeah, 4th base, but you've only got 31 drones, so you've got no army to speak of. And now the links come off. Will they hold? No, they won't. The Zealots are just too good. They haven't got the plus. Oh, they've got the +1. That's a boon for them. But McGraves seems to be a couple of steps ahead of Steamhammer and appears to be powering through into a 2-0 lead. Yeah, these bases are up, but the army of Steamhammer is just too dispersed, and there are now Zealots in the main mineral line. That's not a good position to make a comeback from. And we've got the Templar. I've been yelling at them a little bit, but I still like them. Hopefully we'll get to see a storm or two. The main base is in tatters. The 4th base has been razed to the ground. Main base going to fall momentarily. And then we've got only this base left. The pool has been rebuilt almost. The drone count is back up. But the Protoss army is going to seek that base out. And once it's found, it's going to be bloody and pretty damn quick, because at the moment we've got a 92 versus 0 army supply, and this drone is doing a very, very brave thing. It's being found and clubbed to death immediately, and now the scouting probe is finding it, funneling a 90, 100 army supply army straight into the last remaining base of Steamhammer, and as you can well imagine, that does not end well for our friendly neighborhood Zerg. So will this be the last game of Steamhammer in this tournament? I don't know. What can it do better? It can build more forces, not waste them, and build more drones. Build order-wise, it doesn't appear to be learning. It's doing the same thing. Hatch first, and then a pool. And McGraves starting out with 2 games for some Zealots. Zealots in the mineral line to perhaps fend off a 4 pool. And now are going to town on these Zerglings. And these Zerglings really ought to know better than to take on 4 Zealots. That's just not going to work. And again, a Zealot swoosh takes down a Ling, and again we've got this 11 drone situation with the 3rd base, and Steamhammer doesn't appear to be as responsive as we saw Cherry Pie be earlier. And already we've got a quite nice band of Zerglings at the natural of Zerg. The question is, what is Zerg going to do? 12 workers, not really all that much. And the Zerglings, well, the Zerglings have got speed, but if you see this number of Zealots, you ought to plop down a hatchery or a spire or anything like that. Try to store them, or perhaps just plain out kill them, because with speed there is no reason you shouldn't just be able to outrun and kill them. 1 Zealot's going to die, but with the reinforcements, Protoss should have this easily. The scouting probe being killed once more, and the drone count for Steamhammer, I say it again, is too low. Now this Protoss army of only 1 base, mind you, is more than double that of Zerg, and again we've got 2 Overlords finding themselves in the Goonfire middle of the map. Very unfortunate, Steamhammer being supply blocked again, and then you've got this army which is about 4 times the strength of your own army, hammering down at your natural. The Lings are fighting a good fight here though. Point is, there are just not enough, and with 14 workers and a lost natural, only 1 base by McGraves. McGraves really being a ruthless killing machine. What can he do? But it appears to be moving on in the losers bracket. Will be looking to face Cherry Pie, which is a more daunting opponent by a long stretch. Steamhammer not being as adaptive as it could, and again losing the natural and the main and the overlord. Oh, and this time the third base has been found already. Hydra Den, but it's not going to matter. McGraves taking a 3-0 over Steamhammer, moving up, and I wish I could update this real time. But going up to Cherry Pie in the losers semi-finals. Okay, so let me gather my breath for a moment and take a sip of water. And then I don't hope my microphone is going to catch that, but you never know. We will be having, oh, and I should have shown you that a little bit longer than I just did, the winners finals, Microwave versus Killabot, and that too is going to be a best of 5. So, first game, we saw Killabot taking down Cherry Pie, and I'll show it once more, but Cherry Pie, beating Cherry Pie 3-0, it's nothing to sniff at, and Microwave took down Steamhammer. A little bit less of an accomplishment, I would say, because Steamhammer seemed a bit sluggish compared to the absolute top. But we'll see what it does. But this is going to be all about ZVZ. And one thing more I'm going to show you, that this is a Zerg infested bracket. Ironbot took one game, McGraves took one game, Ximp, well, had to eke out a fellow Protoss, but after that it was Zerg all the way, and this is going to be the era of Zerg, especially since we've only got Ironbot left, and then Cherry Pie, Microwave and Killabot. So McGraves is going to have its work cut out for itself. Now what we'll see the standard build with which Killabot, of course the author is called Marion Deveka and the bot's called Killer, with which Killabot took down Cherry Pie. It's very interesting. It's speed +1 and then a handful of Zerglings, and at the other end of the map we see a little larger handful of Zerglings and a very quick Spire. Worker wise, Microwave being one drone up, no extra hatchery for Killabot, and Killabot is just baited the Zerglings of Microwave. Microwave plopping down a Sunken. That's very well placed because and Killabot losing a Ling, that's not good. Already being down in army supply, can't really look forward to break this because you've got the Sunken, and on top of that, losing a handful of Lings, or yeah, small baby handful of Lings. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, Killabot really losing it big time. Now with the natural hatchery and the drone count is a little bit lower, the army count has been annihilated, and as these players trade Zerglings, that's going to be in the favor of Microwave, because Microwave's starting the Spire and this Sunken is about covering everything. That's a very nifty building placement. Killabot trying with another hatchery, but we'll have to get something done right quick before the Spire is done, and we'll have Mutas. We see no first 3 Mutas coming out. We see no Evo Chamber, no Hydra Den, not even gas on the part of Killabots. It's just going to be Lings, 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 and Killabot can only hope that, but the Mutas won't nip that whole Ling thing in the bud. And these Lings had better go off on a tangent, perhaps lure the Mutas on the main base and get something done that way. We've got an Evo Chamber. The problem is that these Lings are flying in a straight line to their own base, and these Mutas are attacking in a similar fashion. Now the Lings are trying to break through. They are doing so-ish. The Mutas are trying to scramble. No, they're going for the main. The question is this Ling force enough to break down this Sunken, these 2 Lings, and what else is there for Microwave? More Lings are being streamed over. The Lings are going in, the drones coming off the line. Microwave losing a lot of drones, but the Sunken is still in a good position. The Lings of Killabot can't really make up their minds. The Mutas are coming back though. Would be a nice time to plop down a creep colony, make a spore, perhaps get things done that way. Microwave down to 2 workers, but also got 4 Mutas and 2 Zerglings. Well, the 2 Zerglings don't really matter that much. Only got 2 drones. And yeah, that's going to be another drone surely. Yep, there we go, and we'll soon have another hatchery as well. These Mutas, and the Lings get stuck. The Lings don't really, the decision making of Killabot is of these could run past the Mutas, kill the Zerglings. Yep, there they go again, but taking, leaving a lot of blood on the ground by these Mutas. lots of these Lings will be badly damaged, and in a base trade between Zerglings and Mutas, if these Zerglings can beat down this Sunken, they will be in a prime shape, and there are a lot of Zerglings. Will they find the... Yeah, there they go after it, and the drones are coming off the line, but the Sunken is falling. The Mutas are coming back, the infrastructure, the eco of Killabot has not been touched, and Killabot, look at production, is going for all Lings. And now it is retreating again before the Mutas, the might of the winged Mutas. And Killabot can still lose this because it hasn't got any kind of anti-air, it's got nothing. It's just going to, looks like, commit to a lot of Zerglings, only 9 workers. Problem though is that there are 0 workers for Microwave. Microwave with a good build order, but couldn't really, ought to have burned down the Zerglings first, took some damage on the buildings and then rebuilt its economy. And Killabot looking to be in a good position, but there are still 3 buildings to be killed, and these Mutas really have, are they 3? There are 4 Mutas, they've got quite a bit of damage potential, so this might actually take a while. Now the Lings are in the base again, going after the pool. Pool lives, and the extractor being chased. Oh, and Microwave just losing it. That was a really committed fight by Killabot. Nice SimCity by Microwave, but not enough. And again, we've got Microwave in the red. What will it do now? Will it go for the same one base Muta? And Killabot, what will it do? Will it go for the Evo spawning pool +1 and +1 weapons and speed? Looks like it. And go for a natural hatchery as well, and this looks suspiciously like the first game. Very fast lair. Here we go, the army advantage plus the defender's advantage for Microwave. Killabot deciding not to lose a Zergling just yet, going for the Sunken, and yeah, losing 1 Ling in the retreat. Can Killabot get it back? No, this 1 Ling is just going to make it right out of there. And then Killabot is not going to lose 1 Zergling at the ramp. Natural is up for... Oh, not up, is started for Killabot. Upgrade-wise, +1/+1, speed done for Microwave. So an exact reenactment of the last game. And Killabot now with the Zergling battle, taking it decisively, this +1 really doing damage, and going after the last bit of Lings, going after the Sunken, and the Spy isn't even done, so this time might have an even better chance of taking the game right here and now with the Ling reinforcements. And will we see drones? No, of course we won't see drones. So right now, worker count for Microwave is still 9, but the army count is absolutely 0. So it will only be a matter of time before there are enough Lings that Killabot can make another go at this Sunken. And this Spire is going to take too long, I fear. Killabot, what are you going to do? Well, Killabot says, I'm about to kill, because this Ling force is growing. Now it's going for it for the Sunken. Drones are coming off the line, but the drones are all killed. And although we've got 2 Mutas on the production tab, all the workers have been killed. And the main lair is going to go down, and ooh, the worker pops first. The Mutas will be nearly done, but will they be in time to save the lair? I don't know. In any event, there is no money left for Microwave, so Microwave needs to get things done right now. But Killabot's got 3 hatches, got 9 workers mining nothing but minerals, and these 2 Mutas are nothing like the force of 4 Mutas we had last game. And although they appear to be clearing the base right now, the pool, oh, and the pool dies. So Microwave finding itself 2-0 down in, no, shut up, in the winners finals. It's got 1 last chance. Will it pick another build order? And I can only commend Cherry Pie and Ironbot for being flexible in their build orders. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Here we go. Here we go. This is going to be an exact reenactment. There is a longer rush distance for ground-to-ground distance, and that might just, with the correct placement of a Sunken, give Microwave a little bit of an edge. I think that this Sunken is very well placed. Killabot is going for the natural, and at that point the Lings are coming to... Oh, they're going to defend the natural this time. They're not... Oh, there they go. Silly of me. Upgrade wise, +1 nearly finished, speed nearly finished. And oh, the drones are coming off the line. That's mining time lost for Microwave. That should never ever happen. And these Zerglings should just keep in range of the Sunken, let the Sunken do the talking while the Spire is finishing. This time the Spire will finish though, in part due to the longer rush distance. And how many Mutas have we got? We've got 3 on the way. And now I think that Microwave has got pretty good odds. Killabot still on 9 workers with the 3 hatches, not going to do anything else it looks like. And now the Mutas and the Lings are beating the purple Lings of Killabot in a wild retreat. And will we see more Mutas? No, not at the moment. We'll see another hatchery. Oh dear, that's an interesting choice. But these 3 Mutas are doing a lot of damage, and I do mean a lot. These Zerglings of Killabot are getting low, they are retreating, they are not fighting, so even the Zerglings of Microwave are getting a couple of hits in. There are no Sunkens, no Spore, and these 2 Zerglings can't really get past this one Sunken. Meanwhile, Microwave going for a couple of drones. I'd be much more... Oh dear, losing all the Zerglings while the Mutas were off killing other things. And now doing a lot of damage, but now you're in that situation again where the enemy economy is still relatively unhindered. And your own economy has... Well, you're going to need Mutas, man, and really fast. This time, though, there are 4 Mutas and 1 more Sunken coming up. That might just do it, and with that extra hatchery, perhaps Microwave can get something done. Still 9 workers for Killabot, so... Oh, here come the Zerglings, and the Mutas can't. The Mutas cannot hold. There are 2 Mutas out there. They're way too far off, and all the Lings have been killed for Microwave. Killabot, despite losing out big this time, Microwave hasn't got any money any money for drones. Got 4 Mutas, and Killabot has got 9 workers, lots of Zerglings, and the question is, oh, that was really sloppy by Microwave. Almost had it, but the Mutas were too far out. And the question is, who is going to win in the battle of the Zerglings? Here go the Zerglings, the Mutas are just too slow. The Zerglings run in once again, going after the lair. Zerglings being killed again, but damage is being done, and the next wave of Zerglings is gathering already. It's moving in, tearing down the lair, tearing down the next hatchery, and then fleeing again because Mutas are coming back. But again, the next wave of Zerglings is pressuring, and Microwave almost had it done. It was a quite clever Zerg versus Zerg build. It only underestimated the tenacity of Killabot. Killabot really breaking through the roof with 1 build, taking down, and that is really something, taking down Cherry Pie and also taking down Microwave. That last Spire, or the last building for Microwave, the Lings are coming in, and will this be the demotion of Microwave to the losers bracket? Yes it is. Killabot is making its way up, and that was the last game we had today. So I would like to say thank you for all the bots playing. We saw Microwave lose 3-0 to Killabot, McGraves 3-0 to Steamhammer, and Cherry Pie 3-2 versus Iron. So we'll have McGraves versus Cherry Pie, which will be a rehash of that game in the winners bracket. Then the losers finals between whoever's going to win between McGraves, Cherry Pie and Microwave, and then Killabot will face whoever comes out of the losers finals. For this day, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game. I certainly did. We'll be back Sunday, 2200 hours CIT, with the last broadcast of this Student StarCraft AI Tournament 2017 finals. Thank you for watching, and see you again next week. Goodbye!